Today we're going to be talking about traps and which are most viable late game and which ones do the most damage. Make sure you stay to the end to learn a little bit about the late game meta build as well. Hey guys, TikTak here and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about traps, trap damage, trap resistance, which ones are most viable late game against elemental husks. We did husks versus bases, we did weapons versus husks, and today we're finally getting to traps versus husks. Sorry I haven't put a video out in a while, guys. I've just been busy with the Survive the Storm, trying to get that done, which we finally did. Had a ton of crashes, a ton of problems, my power went out, all that crazy stuff. But we're back, we're on the grind, so let's get into this. I've gotten a ton of requests for this video, I mean a ton. And during testing, we found out a lot of interesting things. A lot of things we thought we were sure about, but we weren't. Like usual, this seems to be the way these videos go. We go in thinking one thing and coming out thinking something completely different. And it's usually for the worse, or at least anticlimactic. But no matter the information, we're here to bring you the facts, so let's get right into it. Later in the game, like Uncanny Valley and all of Twine Peaks, regular husks do not show up nearly as much. Almost 60% of the final engagement is going to be elemental ones. And there's a reason for this. It's kind of a crappy reason, but it's still a reason. It's mainly because elemental husks gain resistances, and therefore bullets do less damage. And therefore they become tankier and more bullet spongy, which is kind of just a cheap way to ramp up the difficulty level. Now, once you get to 100+ missions, you're not going to be able to accomplish anything without using every bit of knowledge and building technique that you have learned throughout the previous 3 zones. Based on what we learned from the elemental weapon video, if you want to check that out, it's in the description below, just go ahead and press it. We went in with the mindset that most traps are going to do reduced damage to elemental husks, and guess what? They do. Almost a ludicrous point of uselessness. I mean, seriously, the numbers are really low. I mean, it's possible to get to a point where your traps do only 25% of the damage, and in total correlation, it's like 400 damage per every 5 seconds. It's seriously almost useless. It's better to actually save the materials, but that's only in a couple certain scenarios that might happen. But you know, I'm just gonna explain everything to you guys and bring you the information in a way that you guys can relate to and see it. It's not a lot of mouth, especially if you saw the elemental video. All the rules apply here. There's just 1 or 2 major things that are different. So we have just two types of traps in the game, and we're going to talk about them like we talked about the weapons, because it just makes it easier to understand. I have some other graphs on that video, once again, if you want to check it out. It's down below. But let's talk about the elemental modifiers real quick. Nature husks are weak to fire weapons, fire husks are weak to water weapons, and water husks are weak to nature weapons. So with this in mind, you can figure out what gun is best for what situation. But the thing is that only leaves us with 2 kinds of traps. You have your normal damage ones and your electric damage ones. The normal are wall darts, wall pushers, floor launchers, wooden spikes, and retractable spikes. And even, believe it or not, poison traps are all normal damage. So if we were to compare it to the weapons video, these traps would be like shooting normal bullets at an elemental husk. And if you do that, you're going to be doing 50% of the damage. Now the electric ones are dynamos, ceiling fields, and ceiling zappers. Those are the only 3. But here's the kicker. Now a lot of people, myself included, thought that the electric ones, the ones I just listed, would or are energy damage, based on the kind of look and the damage they emit, but they aren't. Sadly, no, they are actually nature. And since they are nature damage, there's 2 things you really need to know. Number 1, if you have good nature traps, which is the wall dynamo, the ceiling field, or the electric zapper, they are potentially the strongest traps in the entire game. Number 2, the easiest wave in the entire game with using traps would be using electric traps, or quote-unquote nature traps, and fighting a huge wave of frost enemies. The reason for this is every other trap in the game, every single one, does basically 50% of its damage to any elemental husk in the entire game. Later in the game, more elemental husks, therefore less damage your traps are doing. So if you have something that should be hitting for 3,000 damage every 5 seconds, now it's only hitting for 1,500 damage every 5 seconds, which is really not a lot. And when smashers have 45,000 health and run by your traps in one fell swoop, well, you can see where I'm going with this. However, if you want to get the most bang for your buck, and you're lucky enough to get a wall dynamo, a ceiling field, or a zapper, these 3 traps are technically nature damage, and therefore have the potential to do the most damage of any trap in the game when fighting elemental husks. And just to show you what I mean, here's a little chart for you. So those 3 traps do 100% of their damage to regular husks. So if they hit for 1,000, they'll hit for 1,000 on any husk, laserhead, or mist monster that's in the game. They also deal 100% damage to any frost husk. So since they are actually nature and nature is strong against frost, any frost elemental husk will take 100% damage. If the husk happens to be nature, just like it is with the weapons, it'll end up being 67% of the damage. So if it was 1,000, it would do 670 damage. But, however, if you're going to be going against fire husks, it does a lot less damage. So if your traps were to hit for 1,000 damage, which isn't too far off from the truth, a ceiling field hits for like anywhere between 1,600 and 2,200 damage. I'm just doing this for easier math. So if it hits for 1,000, it will actually only hit for 250. Now if a husk has anywhere between 10 to 20,000 health, especially if you're doing storm missions at the moment, you're only going to be hitting for 250 damage. That's nothing. It's almost better to, in the long run, keep the materials and make weapons and stuff that you can actually use against these things than using that. So if you're in a really hard mission like 94 and above, and you make a death tunnel, which you will need at this level because they just have so much health, you need them weakened before they actually get to your main base. But if you make a death tunnel and say you have floor spikes on the bottom and you haven't been lucky enough to get a decent gas trap or something to that effect, and you do all ceiling fields or zappers on the top, you're gonna be in trouble. They're gonna have, like I said, 20,000 to 45,000 health, and they're gonna be hitting for 250. I have lost these kinds of missions with 2 seconds remaining. I mean, the last couple of seconds are real crunch time for these kind of things. Just so you guys know, that little thing that pops up in the beginning once you deposit blue glow or start the mission or get to the part where the tendrils are, whatever it may be, that little thing that says what kind of enemies you're fighting is them trying to tell you a lot about what you should and should not do. I know it doesn't seem like that, but it is. It tells you what kind of weapons to use, what kind of building materials to use, and most importantly, what kind of traps to use. So just remember guys, there's only 2 kinds of traps in this game, regular and nature. All the electric ones aren't energy damage, they are nature damage, and play accordingly. Play smart, save some materials, save yourself farming in the long run. It's really helpful to pay attention to that little thing that pops up. Makes the game a lot easier. And lastly guys, like I said, those traps, the nature traps, once again have the potential to be the best traps in the game. They get the least resistance from the husks when they actually hit things, no matter what kind they are, except if they're fire. So if you have some, level them up. They're really strong. They're really powerful. I would put them second to only gas traps and wooden floor spikes. That combination is absurd. As you guys know, it's what I use in all my missions if you watch my stream. It's a lot of cool stuff that we do on my stream. If you want to check it out, feel free to stop by. I stream every single weekday from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m., sometimes 4 p.m., every single weekday, Eastern Standard Time. Come check us out. It's a lot of cool people there, a lot of fun. If you guys want to join the Discord, it's over 501 members strong. Pretty crazy. If you are playing Fortnite, if you're into Fortnite, all that kind of stuff, come check out the stream. We do it every day on YouTube. The link will be in the description below. Thank you guys so much for all the help and everything you guys do for me. Please, I tried to make this insightful. I tried to help you out. It's the last part to the Elemental Husk scientific data test. And guys, I know they just came out with a battle royale. I like calling it FUBG, playoff PUBG. There's a lot of hate for it, a lot about they didn't say anything about PvP. Everyone bought the game because they thought it was PvE only. I think it's a great addition to the game. We're definitely going to be making videos about that. We're definitely going to be checking that out. So make sure you tune in to the stream. Make sure you stay, hit that little bell, stay notified. I'm going to be making montages and all that stuff. I already have some footage I'm going to put together. But don't worry, guides aren't going anywhere, guys. And real quick, one more time, guys, the Discord. Ever since this Battle Royale thing popped up, this FUBG, we're going to be redoing the Discord a little bit. So we're going to have fire teams like they have on PUBG. So if you have, if you're looking for people to play with, if you want, a team or group, a fire team, whatever you want to call it, make sure you join the Discord. The link will be in the description below. Come hang out with us. It's going to be a lot of fun, guys. And if you're not subbed, we just broke 2,000 subs. We just did it during the stream. We broke 2,000 subs. Leave a like down below on the video, guys. It really helps me out. Thank you so much for watching. And TikTak out.